And your mic sounds great.
I got like 40 mics.
You got what?
Yeah. It's a Chinese company. It's a company out of China.
Ah, konnichiwa.
It's Japan, right? You wanted Ohio. That's what you get for. Boy, they'll be so mad at you right now.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Toonslayer Podcast, the place where we have resurrectional conversations. And indeed, I just made that word up. Today is especially delicious. I am excited about today because I get to introduce a lot of you guys and reintroduce to some, present to others, a producer who I believe is one of the most amazing, who's carrying one of the most amazing sounds of our generation. I'm not even joking. Ladies and gentlemen, I was introduced to this man's music by another good friend of mine, amazing producer. His name is Ty Brown. He goes by T. Aaron Music. And once I heard this guy's music, first of all, it was amazing. And then I found out he's right here in Orlando, Florida, where I live. And I'm like, yo, how is it possible that we don't know each other? We got connected and the rest is history. Ladies and gentlemen, the sound of the century. Please welcome to the stage my good friend, Mr. Donyea is in the building. Oh, that's right.
People?
Oh, that's right. What up, people? Brother,
What up,
amazed.
man?
I am amazed to have you on here.
You know how to bring a cat out. I had no idea who you were talking about just now.
Hey, who are we talking about? I thought it was my turn. I thought it was me on today.
I said, man, this dude is introduced. Whoever this cat is, I want to meet him.
I'm dead serious, man. The sound of the century, bro. I was blown away. The same way I felt when I heard Ty's music. I'm like, I was big on that, man. And when he was like, man, you don't know Donyea? I'm like, nah. He's like, he's right there in Orlando. What? Brother, I went up, I traversed upon thine Instagram and was blown away. Man, dude, you are
Ty,
carrying.
Man.
Yeah, Ty. Can we talk about Ty for a second? It's just the most humble, cool killer ever.
He really
amazing.
Is, man. He really is. He's not afraid to give cats their props, you know, and you find that rare these days. Cats don't.
That's true.
You know, get the props up. And Ty I ran into him on Instagram, and I was like, "Who is this cat? Who's this guy?" You know, and then all of my friends knew him, and I was like, okay, you know, let me. I kept my eyes peeled for that dude. He was a monster.
Man. And you know what? What's interesting is these days, it's not like dope musicians never existed at all times, but we had to wait till the convention or the convocation to hear the other cats, because we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have the internet, but now. Man, first cats would be legends. Like you'd hear urban legends about dudes, and then you go to the convention and be like, "Yeah, this one dude, man, he was like." We talked about this one kid when I was growing. This one dude when I was growing up, Joe Flip Wilson, right?
Yes.
And Joe Wilson, man. The urban legend was that Joe was playing the keyboard one day, and his he broke his finger or something like that, and he had a sling on it. And he was like, no, it's keeping him from keeping him from doing those extensions so he took the whole cast off and played with a broken pinky.
Oh my God.
I think that was an urban legend. I don't know. He do have a cricket pinky. I ain't gonna lie, his pinky is cricket. But it might be because he took a sling off. But that was the story, man. It's like, man, he was playing and he took the cast off his arm so he could heat the extensions.
Oh
I was like, wow. But you know, we couldn't. We would only hear about these things until now, or until you would go to a convention. Then you meet the dudes, and you know you would they would blow you away. But now there's so many people, man, everywhere, every country,
right?
And we have access to them. So my first question, let me start off with, what's the difference between staying relevant and keeping up with the Joneses?
Wow,
is there a
difference? Good
question.
there's a difference. For a long time, I was challenged, or I felt forced to keep up with the Joneses because everyone else thought I should, right?
Mm.
And so, you know, what I learned is staying relevant only makes sense, or it becomes more important once you find what your thing is, and then you
Ooh.
stay relevant to your thing, even if you're, keeping up with what everybody else is doing, so that your sound doesn't date itself,
Mm-hmm.
but you still take that and make it what you're doing. So, for a long time it was like, well, if you don't sound like this cat, you're not it. Or if you don't sound like this cat, you're not it. And in a lot of cases, people still do that. And so you have to force the idea of, no, this is what I do. And I've become my own relevancy, to where when people come in my side of the bubble, they look for what I do, so what I do will never be irrelevant because it's me. But for people who have not established that sound yet, it takes a minute to get there, because you got to find you first. What do I do? What do I, you see it in the music industry for years and years, right? Somebody comes out and they're doing this kind of music, right? And then all of a sudden they trail off and do something else. When you find out that something else is really what they wanted to do, but they couldn't find their footing. One of the best examples I saw, remember when Pink came out?
Yeah.
And then, like, Pink was this like urban, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, oh, okay. And then I just didn't hear about her no more. And then I saw her again and I was like, that ain't the Pink that I knew, but it was like, oh, obviously this is who she really was.
Right.
But she had to find that. She had to get there. Now it don't matter, because people go to see her, whatever it is she's presenting. Keeping up with the Joneses it can be detrimental, because the problem with that is, just like in material things, you lose money trying to get what the next person has, or do what the next person does. You lose your own identity. And a lot of us get caught up into that. And what happens is you don't even know who you are anymore. And you try to get back to you. You can't find it. You can't find that person, and I found myself like really dealing with bad stress, trying to keep up with what the next guy was doing, and listening to people tell me, oh, you're not relevant. You sound dated because you don't sound like this. And I would listen to that and I would go, it just sounds like the 70s. It just sounds like the 80s. It's like, oh no, what people are saying when they say relevancy, they're saying, are you doing what's popping right now? Are you doing what's on the radio right now? And for a long time, I used to chase that radio. And then I started finding out that by the time I caught the radio, they were already on something else. I was too late. I was already too late. And then I went from there. I went through a spell of like just being ahead of my time and just doing stuff, and that nobody else was doing. Everybody's calling it stupid. And then 10 years later, now everybody's doing it.
Kind of like that reminds me of Noah, bro, building the ark when there was no such thing at the time as rain. Yes. And so he was preparing for something that didn't yet exist. And I'm sure that obviously people were mocking him. That's the same position that you were in, because cats are like, nobody doing that. And it's what that's not necessary. That's not needed until it is.
Yeah.
So he just had to stay true to what God assigned for him to do.
Yes.
For all of those years when it wasn't hitting, then it hit.
Yes. Relevant to people and relevant according to your purpose can be two different things. So there are a lot of people who are relevant to their purpose, and people don't think it's hitting because it's not popular. That's the downside of kind of social media, right? Is that everybody wants to be viral, and whatever's viral is what's good. You know what I mean? People are
Yeah.
accepting it as great material and great content and great ideals and great whatever because it's viral, not because it's actually qualitative or redemptive. It's just
Mm.
viral. So people associate with virility be positive. You know, they're going viral, so they must be
What
doing
you
something
said?
right.
You said
It's like,
virility.
yes.
Virility. I'm not familiar with that word. I don't know. I don't know what virility means. I had to stop it. I was like, yeah, wait, no.
Viralness, I'll say.
Oh,
Just
so, yeah, people have a
super,
certain
super
level of
duper
virility.
popular. Because that word
Right.
can mean a bunch of things. So
I actually like that, though.
like
I'm going to start using it.
it's super popular. Like, oh, it's so and so super popular. I mean, I'm sure you heard songs, and I mean they just banging at number one, and you're like, I don't understand. I'm
Yes.
I'm not understanding it. And so it's not that it's necessarily inherently a bad song. It just doesn't resonate with you.
Right.
you know so
Right.
it's not relevant to you. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
so that
But it's
qualifies now relevant. To
right.
who?
Right. Relevant to something. And who decides what's relevant now, since relevance is such a subjective thing? you
Mm.
know because now there's a lane for everything now. Whereas
Yeah.
before you had to get through all these gates and try to find, man, there's a lane for everything. And if there isn't, you can make your own lane at this point.
Right.
You know, there's people who, I mean, there's a radio station for just 90s music, just
Right.
70s music, just like there's a lane for everything now. So for somebody to be like, oh, you're not relevant, what are we talking about? If I'm not relevant in here, I'm in the wrong room. That's all it
Oh,
is now.
come on.
I just
So
need to find a
there are
room.
that's it. So let's talk. Let's turn it this way in the conversation.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of people, musicians, who are listening to and watching this, and they have not found their relevance in the room inside the four walls of the church. So they have gotten frustrated and bounced. And for a lot of them, that comes with some kind of sting, some kind of stain, some kind of ought, some kind of bitterness against the church because there wasn't space for them. And then there's a lot of ought and angst in the church because they feel like these were prima donnas that just wanted to do worldly music and stuff like that, not realizing that they didn't create a space for that.
There you go.
So where do we meet in the middle and find the responsibility for both parties to say, dude, I am going to be faithful to the house. I'm going to be faithful to what God has called me to do in this space until God elevates me to something else. And if there's not space in that room, then either A, I'll find myself in another room, or I'll bring some tools to build a space. Like, how do we rectify all of that? How do you do it?
There's two things the one thing I learned to do, how I learned to deal with it, because I walked away from church a while ago, and it was because God told me to.
Whoa.
God told me to. I was in a situation where I was just running in circles, and I'm trying to figure it out. And what I had to learn was, number one, I had to take responsibility for expecting the church to be my platform. Expecting Sunday morning to be my platform. Sunday morning is not my platform. A worship service is not my platform.
Yikes.
Right? It's God's platform. The church, period, as a whole, is God's platform. Right? It's not our platform. And when I ingested that, I understood, like, okay, and because there are so many complexities amongst different ideals in church leadership, There's a lot of leadership in churches that don't believe that there should be a platform in the church for the arts. Right? That's why you see so many videos online. They're controversial because, oh, you shouldn't do that in church. You shouldn't do that in church. That's for this. That's for that. Or you find you a theater somewhere. No, build one. You build one so that your young people have somewhere to do their art. And then you'll never have to worry about your Sunday morning being sacred again. Right? But the problem is they don't do that. And for many reasons. One of them is, the heavy infiltration of narcissism in the leadership. And if it's not about whoever the leader is, then it's not about nothing. And if it's not about whoever, somebody has to control everything, and, you get in all those weeds, what happens is the young people suffer, the old people suffer, the musicians suffer, the singers suffer, everyone suffers. Because then let's not even talk about nepotism and getting into pedigree and all of that stuff, all the politics that are involved. You have, in comparison to the people that are awarded a platform, for every 10 people that are awarded a platform in church, there's probably 10,000 people thrown on the shelf because you're not so-and-so. You're not related to so-and-so. Because as a leader, giving you a platform doesn't benefit me. It doesn't make me look good. It makes me look good to give these people a platform. And if we get rid of that element and start understanding that there's a God element to the arts, because that's where all of this comes from. So we need to build something so that there is a safe place where our talented can continue to develop and continue to flourish and perform. Right? This stems from people putting a nasty stigma on performance.
Right.
Performance is bad. It's bad. Only the Holy Ghost, that type of stuff. And I was raised by my grandmother, so I was told all of it. No, don't be moving like that when you play. Don't be gyrating like that. Don't take all that. Don't you?
Now wait a minute. There's some gyration to be going on that need to stop.
Man, yeah, like
but
it
I
is
digress.
true.
I digress.
On the organ, just rocking to the beat. You know what I mean? Just you showing off. I'm like, how am I showing off? I'm just getting it to them. But you know what I'm saying? But it's like, oh, that's just that inbred teaching of, you know what I mean? And again, though, to your point, believe it or not, that you just made, that you might have thought was a digression, if there was a platform to teach them where that belongs and to teach them the art side of it, we wouldn't have to worry about it. But the reason why we have to worry about it is because we're not building a platform for them. We're not building a platform. Now, we can name a mega quadrillion musicians who got kicked out of the church for playing half the stuff that we hear right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, I hear these crazy praise breaks and stuff, and they're all great. Everybody's killing. But I saw that when I was 10. You know what I mean? This isn't a new thing. Like I saw my aunts and uncles and cousins and their friends and all that pull all of that in church and get kicked off, and they ended up playing in the clubs because now there was nowhere for them to play.
Wow.
Because you can't play that. That's too jazzy. That's too this. That's too that. And then when you think about it and you do all the history and all that, and then it's like, okay, there's just a lack of a platform, and I had to reconcile, look, since there's not going to be a platform, let me understand that. Let me ingest the fact that when I am at a worship service, I am there to serve, whether I'm getting paid or not. I'm there to serve, not to perform. Yeah. And once I got that in my spirit, and understood it. I had taken time off and I came back and I understood, okay, this is about whatever the Holy Spirit is doing. And I am here to accompany that. And
got it. So then, yeah, go ahead.
And then when I leave, I allow God to give me the tools and to open the doors I need to build my platform for performance.
Yeah, because if you're faithful with that which belongs to another man, then you will be trusted
Absolutely.
with your own. So
Absolutely.
if you can't be faithful to not take the glory or the attention in my house, then
Yes.
why would I ever supply you with what you need to build your own?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why would I ever build you one?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things that happen that are distractions.
Yes.
And again, who are you serving?
Yes.
Whose house is this? Who's getting the glory out of this? You know, I believe that a lot of us have been guilty, myself included, of
Me
even
too.
working on this real smooth transition, Doc. When the
Yes.
song get to this one spot, I'm gonna
Yes.
hit them with this.
Yes.
And I'm gonna look around and see who saw it, who caught
see
it.
who saw it, yes.
What I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all
I
heard
already
that?
know.
If you circle back
Been
around
there.
again, I'm gonna do it again. I got it the second way that I could do it. It's gonna change it
Yes.
up. And it's like,
Yes.
yo, hey.
Yes.
And then they say, hey, you know what? We're not gonna do that song this week. We're gonna let's do
Oh
actually
my
let's do
God.
Go Tell It on the Mountain.
Yes.
It's like,
Man, I practiced. I
So
spent
now what you
hours
do-
trying to get these.
but Donyea. But these
Yes,
days,
sir.
what we could do is we can go right on our little Instagram. We can set up a camera and we can do that junk there, so we can
that
get that
whole
glory
thing.
that we was going.
Yes.
It's like, we have created a monster, bro.
Yes.
It's a monster
We did this
because we did this, and at some point we got to take responsibility for it, bro.
We did this, man. Yeah.
At some
Yeah.
point,
That's really, what it's become. And I will always include myself in the conversation,
Yes, sir.
because I cannot pick up the backpack and the shovel and the construction equipment to try to be a solution without first admitting that I was part of the problem. And so I can't point fingers at everybody and say they, when there was a lot that I instituted just in my own life. Ego became a thing with me, and it took God a few times to be like, hey, sit down, just sit down. It took him a few times, but once I realized it and understood, okay, this is God's business now. And if he chooses to use me in that way, so be it. But I'm here to serve first. So if nobody hear my chord and be like, woo, if nobody does that, fine. Right?
yeah,
And I think a lot of us musicians, we find ourselves living for the woos. And we forget what we're there for, And again, we're all guilty of it, because do you see the other guys get the woos and don't nobody have a problem with that? Why can't I get some woos? So-and-so getting woos. I've been doing this all my life. I ain't never getting no woos. As soon as he come here, y'all get the woos. Why? Because it's a political thing, and, they look good saying woo to him. It means money it means big business for whatever the organization is, but you're not nobody. So they don't, it's a vicious cycle, man. It just rotates and rotates. And then what happens? They get bitter, right? We get bitter, we leave, right?
that's right.
We leave and we become musical monsters, just otherworldly geniuses. And we come back and we can't wait to get on the instruments and smash everybody. And we do it, and everybody's looking at us like we crazy, and we don't care. We just walk out and go be bitter again. You know what I mean? It's a huge cycle,
Yeah.
and somebody got to break it.
Yeah, man. I think that the enemy loves that, because that's what got him kicked out of heaven.
Oh man.
The pride that literally came before his destruction.
Yes.
His haughtiness
Yes.
that came before his fall,
Yes.
and I think that we have to be careful,
Oh,
because when we are, there's some people that are listening to this that might not know how this feels, but I'm going to try to break it down. You understand it, I understand it. And so let's say at the end of a message, right? The pastor's you're connected, you're locked in with what he's saying or whatever, and you know this tune that's getting ready to change the game. Like as soon as I get on, I'm gonna start playing this melody right here, and it lines up with what he's doing, and this is about to be a great moment for your boy. Right. It's gonna be great because I got it. And so you get on there and you play a song, and it, in that moment, God uses that tune to do what he's trying to do and solidify what the pastor's saying, all this other kind of stuff, whatever. The question is, are you taking credit for that? Are you taking glory for that? Or is that or something that you've been sensitive and like I need this to get this, like God saying, I'm going to use this to get the job done that I want to get done. Yes. But it's not for you. Right. This is not for you. This is not for, it's like a chef in the kitchen making this amazing meal, right? You do all of the different the textures and all different colors and all different flavors and all of how it's cooked to perfection or whatever. He does all of that to give it to somebody else. Yes. For their enjoyment, not for his own. Imagine you sitting at the table and you at Charlie's Steakhouse and you ordered your filet mignon or your ribeye, like I like it, you know what I'm saying, medium well, blah blah blah, all this other kind of stuff, and it comes to the table and you see that there's a bite mark in it, that somebody like something bit out of it. Man, I would what? Yes. Like I'm going back to the kitchen myself. Right, I'm going back to and you come, who bit my steak? And the chef was like, yo, I made it. Yep, I made it. So I wanted to taste a little piece of that. Yes. You know what I'm saying? It looked to me. That's not how this works. We don't set this thing up for us to consume. It's true. We're vessels that are into what we were saying before. It's like, yes, but you're not cooking on your platform. You're cooking on somebody else's platform for someone else. Yes, sir. So you cannot come in here into this kitchen with the mindset that whatever you're cooking is for you. This ain't your kitchen. It's never for you. When you walk into that church, paid or not, whatever the case may be, it's never for you. Sir, say it again. It's never for you. When you walk into that church, it's never for you. You sit down to the keys and you load up your little laptop with your little loop stems and your little shout loops. Why they gotta be low? They gotta be low. Because we think we hot. Let's talk to these man. Let's talk to. We don't. Some of us, man. We don't have the same framework. We don't have the same context that others have. Okay, I'm gonna put it like this. My son the other day says to me that he's talking to one of his friends on his football team. My son is 15 years old. He's on the football team, his second year, sophomore year of high school. And he says, yeah, I'm referring, it's a senior that he's talking about. He's like, yeah, I call him Unc. I say, hold up. Unc? You call that dude Unc? He's like, yeah, that's Unc. He's 2 years older than you, son. Yes. You calling this kid Unc? Yes. Cease and desist. Do not do it another time. Yes. Don't ever do it. You hear somebody saying something. You have no context for why they're using it, but you're just doing it. You're saying it because that's the thing to say. So for some cats, they're coming in there with the laptops and they're coming in there with their loops and their stems and stuff like that or whatever, and they hitting that button and all this other kind of stuff and kind of manipulating how the service is going, but you don't have context for why this even existed to begin with. Exactly. And a lot of these younger musicians, I'm learning, they've missed the entire experience. There's a whole gospel experience. There's a whole spiritual experience. They just never got it. They never experienced it. They don't know what that's like. Yeah. And unfortunately, we're living in a society now where everything is follower. Yeah. Everything is follower. They look at somebody up there and go, they don't ask what they did to get there. Sir. They just look at the stage, look at what he got, listen to what he's doing, and then go do that. Right? With that, that's the equivalent of I'm gonna play, and then you get to church, all you know are the chops. You don't know any major or minor scales.
You don't know any proper fingering. You don't know any basic hymns. You don't know Mary Had a Little. You just know whatever the top song is, right? You just know what everybody's, doing. And there's no development anymore. No one goes in the barn and turns the camera off and turns everything off and just practice. No, they don't do that no more. Everything has to be in front of camera. Got to be right there. I'm only great if you're watching me. Which desecrates the integrity of the musicianship, to a degree, because you, me, other cats. There was a share incident I posted on Facebook not too long ago, and I was just referring to this very thing we're talking about. And I was talking about how praise breaks sometimes they're forced, they're a little unnecessary. People are just doing it just to perform.
Right.
And I said, let's keep in mind that we're there to serve, not to perform. And we do what we do in response to what God is already doing. And I put on the bottom, I said, signed, the original King of Praise Breaks. That's what I said.
I said what I said.
That's what I said. And it got back to me that some individual was upset by that. They missed all of what I said. They were upset by I said the original King of Praise Breaks. And then they said, who he think he is? People was doing this before him. And he was kind of right, but he kind of wasn't. And I knew what he was trying to do, but it didn't work out too well. And again, but it's because this person did not know me outside of social media. So they had no idea who I was before social media.
Got it.
So everybody's like, Donyea, this, that, Donyea. And I appreciate the love and stuff, but people don't realize I was this guy before YouTube was invented, before MySpace.
Yeah.
I was this guy in private.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't become this great guy because cameras was on me. I was this guy when people were saying my stuff sucked. It ain't that dope. I was practicing every day when nobody was looking. So the person you see now is a result of me diligently doing this without the camera. And to now it's like not a lot of us are doing this without the camera. We have to have the camera. We have to set up the thing. And it's like, wow, and we only the what's the word I'm looking for? The manipulation of it all is when the camera's on, you only show the best of yourself.
Correct.
You don't show the worst, so no one else knows the journey, right? So what makes it easy is to circle again. It makes it easy for them to look at that person up there and go, oh, I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna get a laptop, I'm gonna get Ableton, and I'm gonna get all these stems and do all these things. And then, when somebody gets up to sing Nearer My God to Thee, I've seen it happen. I get calls at least every week.
How great thou art.
My friend was like, hey, man, I went to a thing and they brought the band and the whole nine and the stems, and somebody got up there and started singing Blessed Assurance and no one knew it. There's a whole experience. And I said, you know what? I'll take the indictment on that because we're not teaching these guys. We're not making the effort to teach these guys. A lot of us, what we're doing is we're doing what they're doing, trying to keep up to make sure they don't come take us over.
Whoa. Ouch. Remember me? Hey, young buck. All right, young buck. Don't get it twisted. I was fine back in the day.
Yeah. We trying to do all the licks and hits, and we got that, man. I was doing that when you was 4, that whole thing. And, the whole sector of this as a whole needs therapy. We need to just sit down. And do you know how much healing would happen if folks would just sit down and be like, man, remember that time you did that? You hurt my feelings, man. You hurt me. And you didn't, if we as a collective body of Christ actually sat down and was honest with each other about some things, be a lot of healing going on.
All right, good people, listen up now. If you enjoyed that episode, trust me, there's a lot more where that came from. So make sure you subscribe to Tombslayer YouTube page, because you don't want to miss one of these conversations. You don't want to miss this sweet, sweet hat game either now.